anybody wishes to be heard on any of those applications, please see one of our public safety officers, the men and women in uniform, and we'll be happy to hear from you. And as is the tradition, the town board will stay behind after the formal portion of the calendar has been completed for any miscellaneous items. If anybody, in the interim, if we can rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilwoman King-Sweeney, would you lead us in the pledge? I pledge of the
United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Martin?
Present.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman?
Here.
Councilman Gusti?
Here.
Councilman Hughes?
Here.
Councilman Santino?
Here.
Councilman King-Sweeney?
Okay, we have, before we start the hearings, we have a student here. It's a Jishu Saba. Good morning. Good morning. And you are from Valley Stream. Are you going to school? Oh, wonderful. Very good. Welcome to Town Hall. All right, please call the first public hearing.
Sorry, Supervisor, I left out receiver of taxes, Donald X. Clayton.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. I apologize.
Okay. Glad you're here, Don.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove an in-ground pool and remove all litter and debris from property in L1.
Okay. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? If not, may I have a motion? Second motion.
Supervisor Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Gusti? Councilman Hughes? Councilman Santino? Councilman King-Sweeney?
Please call the next public hearing.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a one-story, one-family dwelling and remove all litter and debris from property in Seaford.
Does anybody wish to be heard on the Seaford property? May I have a motion?
Second.
Supervisor Murray?
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gusti? Councilman Hughes? Councilman Santino? Councilman King-Sweeney?
Please call the next public hearing.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a 2 1/2 story, one building dwelling with detached garage and remove all litter and debris from property in West Hempstead.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this Garden City Boulevard property? May I have a motion?
Second.
Supervisor Murray? Aye. Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Gusti? Councilman Hughes? Councilman Santino?
Aye.
Councilwoman King-Sweeney?
Please call the next public hearing.
Petition of Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a 1 1/2 story, one building dwelling and remove all litter and debris from property in West Hempstead.
Do we have a Mr. Alan Jennings?
Here.
Please come forward, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. If you could have a seat and identify your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Alan Jennings. I reside at 511 Barber Lane in Lakeview, New York, West Hempstead, to those of us who live north of Brownsville. I'm here today because of the concern with the property. It's been abandoned for a very long period of time, causing property values in the neighborhood that I live in to be assessed at a lower value than what they should be.
Mr. Jennings, if I might interrupt,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Do you have any legal relationship?
No.
Okay, your
I'm
name.
a neighbor.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Thank you.
But I've been out in Lakeview since 1988, and I've seen the neighborhood change, as we all have in our particular neighborhood. And I would like to keep the same flavor that I had when I came there, single-family homes with families growing up and enjoying what the lifestyle is in Nassau County. The concern that I have is that if it's demolished, what will happen to the vacant property? Will it be doled out to or sold to a developer who comes in and makes it, hopefully it will be a one-family unit, but we've had a lot, because of the change in the world today in our communities, there's a big concern when somebody comes in to build something. What will it be? What does that start? How will it change? What change will it be for the neighborhood?
Right.
And so I'm asking that consideration be given or information be a little more readily available to folks in the neighborhood other than, what's on the calendar when issues like this happen. I know Councilwoman Goolsby has been very active in making sure that we in Lakeview know what's going on, but the town board itself, I think, shares some responsibility in that also.
Well, absolutely, sir, and that's why we're considering for the very safety and welfare of the community. Because clearly, by the time that it gets to this point and it's presented before the board, it is a property that is dangerous, and I know I can't speak nearly as well as our buildings commissioner. This is Commissioner Rocky up next to you, commissioner of our buildings department. We have an outside architect that actually evaluates properties that we feel are in danger. And so we have an outside architect's report showing that it would be a dangerous situation to keep the facility, the home, as it is. With regard to going forward, that piece of property, and saying this off the top of my head, but it's zoned Residence B, just like your home, just like every home on the block. So I understand your concern about going forward, what might be in store. But the bottom line is, if that property were to be ultimately sold, and the person the new owner, they would have to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals to try to effect some kind of change other than building a single-family home. So you do have that protection on your side. The zoning is in your favor because it's a neighborhood, and that's what we wanted to stay. And that's why Residence B zoning just calls for a very particular single-family home, that kind of a situation. Commissioner, am I wrong?
Supervisor, you're 100% correct in everything you just said. So if other than a single-family home was to be built, you would have to go before the Board of Appeals, and everyone in the neighborhood would be notified of it.
Yeah, yeah.
The only other, if I may,
Sure.
the only other concern is that why did it take so long for it to reach this point when that home has been abandoned for a very long period of time? But, I mean, other than neighbors, and I'm quite sure neighbors have called in and said, hey, there's a bad home here. What does the town have in place when it goes to the department? What do you do when you know that the neighborhood
Sure.
issues like this are there to make it happen sooner than 4 years, 5 years, or whatever the time frame is?
Commissioner.
Supervisor, we were notified of the problem with this in June of 2013. We secured the home, made sure it was safe so the children in the neighborhood wouldn't go in it and get injured. And we tried to reach out to the property owners to see if they'll move forward and fix it or do something with it. In the last year and a half, they haven't come forward. So we got to the point where we went forward with having our engineer do a look at the house, seeing that it was down to excess of 33.5%. And that's why we're here today, putting forth on board with my recommendation to the town board to demolish the home.
I don't know how long, yes.
We thank the neighbors too, because you were really, really busy on this in this back because of your advocacy. We moved as fast as we could within the law, and I have to say, we have the best complaint I feel in this state.
Yes, well, I'm here to get the information, so to speak. So this is not an attack on any individual in terms of their job. No, this so it's clear. But I think that, neighborhoods are changing, people's interest level has changed. And if we don't, someone speak up to get things, to change, for change, it never will happen.
And it was those very complaints that were complaint-driven. Building department, as every building department is on the island and well beyond. And it was those very complaints from the neighborhood that got us started the process for us, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jennings, for coming down. I don't have any other speaking slips. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this property consideration? If not, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Ma'am, please come forward. Pardon me, I didn't see your hand. That's okay. Please, if you could share your name and address. And sorry.
390 Barbara Lane. I live 2 doors
Okay.
on the property. Now, although this property is zoned as a one-family, prior to the fire that happened, there were multiple families living in it. People were being sent, it was being used as a rooming house. Numerous families were there, and we wrote numerous letters. And this has been going on at least since 2005 to 2006. Well before the fire took place. So I don't know why it took so long for someone to come in, to go into the house, to investigate, to see that it was actually being used as a rooming house. Because someone that was living in there actually told me that walls had been knocked down to make additional room.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know what the history.
I don't have to share on the property, if you want to have to sit down and, have someone sit down and go over this,
We could share the file with you, but certainly.
I wish I had brought the letters.
Yeah, but certainly going forward, that's an unfortunate past. Going forward, we think that this is a positive step for the neighborhood. And it's not even just sort of a wish. The point is, the property at this point is so structurally damaged that it would be a real concern, safety concern, of course, for the neighborhood. I don't have to tell you, you live 2 doors down.
Right,
I
and
can
I've lived
imagine.
there since 1978.
Well, I think with the demolition, if the town board votes for the demolition order, I think that's the first step in clearing what is clearly a very, very bad property. And as I say, Commissioner Rodkamp, this is the gentleman next to you. He would be happy to sit down with you, Mr. Jennings, if he's around, if he's interested, if there are any other neighbors about this piece of property. And you could explain again, the residence B zoning, what the parameters are on what a potential future owner would be able to build. And it's essentially a single-family home, but I'm sure you could do that even better than I can.
Okay, well, what if the guidelines say if it's rebuilt as a single-family home, but that person wishes to do the same thing to rent out rooms?
Well, that's against our code, number one.
How do we rectify that?
Because during the building process, the person who is building a new home there has to go through inspections throughout the entire construction process. So our inspectors are inspecting every aspect and every phase of the new construction.
Right, I understand that, but after it's built, and they decide, say they want to rent it out.
They could rent it out as a home. They could rent it to a family.
A family.
A family, yes.
Right.
That
What
is
if they
acceptable.
do like the other owner did, and rent it out?
Well, then what we would ask for you to do, as we do with neighbors in every neighborhood, we're complaint driven. If you see something that you think is wrong, is nefariously going on in that new home, and again, we're borrowing code, but I understand that it has a troubled past, this particular property. We would ask for you to reach out to us, and we'll send the building inspector out. As I say, during the construction phase, a microscope is put on the building and the construction itself, that it conforms to the zoning, single-family zoning that's in the area. Okay, so if you'd like to, if you care to have more information about the house, or even if you have any other questions, I know that Commissioner Rodkamp would be happy to meet with you and your fellow neighbors, if that's something you'd like to do. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jennings, and the neighbors. Does anybody else wish to be heard on? If you'll sit with Commissioner Rodkamp. We have a room that's room in the back with the glass. That's where, if anybody is interested in hearing from Commissioner Rodkamp, we invite you in. Thank you, everybody. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this Barbara Lane property? Not may I have a motion.
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and that petition to remove the one half-story house and the family dwelling be removed, and I move that it be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Lucy.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Island Park, Seaford, and Woodmere.
I don't have any speaking slips. Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye.
Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Woodmere.
Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye.
Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Belmore and Elmont.
Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the item be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding U-turn prohibitions in Wanta.
Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Move that the public hearing be closed and the item be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye.
Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding parking for police vehicles only in Elmont.
Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move that the proposed local, that the hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted. Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding gross weight restrictions in Wanta.
Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the item be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in Elmont, East Meadow, Oceanside, and Seaford.
Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Yes, I move, Supervisor, that the public hearing be closed and the proposed handicap parking in public streets be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye.
Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next public hearing.
Assessment hall for construction or reconstruction of sidewalks in Baldwin, Belmore, Bethpage, East Meadow, Elmont, Franklin Square, Hewlett, Levittown, Melbourne, Merrick, North Belmore, Oceanside, Rockville Center, Roosevelt, Seaford, Uniondale, Valley Stream, Wantagh, West Hempstead, Westbury, and Woodmere.
There you go. Let's say that's all next time. Does anybody wish to be heard? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the assessment roll adopted.
I second the motion.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Please call the next application.
Application of TNT Enterprise Inc. for variance for provisions of GSS ordinance to modify and convert office area in one service bay into snack shop convenience store and maintain 2 service bays for repair of automobiles and self-service operation in Seaford.
Good morning, Mr. O'Brien.
Good morning, Supervisor Murray, honorable members of the town board, council. Nice to see everyone on this fine, frigid Tuesday in February. Nice to see the existing board members and to welcome some of the new board members. And before I get going, let's see. I might have mentioned this before, but I have to comment on our the town clerk and her wonderful speaking voice. As much as she might even be able to make my application sound good. Well, maybe I should reserve that to the end of my presentation. We'll find out. But my name is Kevin O'Brien. I am from the firm of Murphy, Bartone, O'Brien. Office is at 22 Jericho Turnpike, New York. Here this morning representing TNT Enterprises, Inc. with respect to this application. Two of the representatives from TNT, the principals, the owners, Mr. Tariq Mahmood and his son Omar Mahmood, the principals are here with me this morning. Also, I have Mr. Kevin Kazian from FST Inc., the design professionals and professional engineers who have prepared the plans, which are before the board. If I can, perhaps just to try and make it a little bit easier for the board. I have the same set of plans that have been submitted as part of the application, but we'll have the anti-17, so just might make it a little bit easier to follow along. I believe perhaps the only addition that might not have been in part of the original application package may be a landscape plan. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So there may be a landscape plan that might not have been included as part of the original submission, as part of this 11 by 17. This is an application by TNT involving an existing gas station service station, which is located at 3818 Sunrise Highway in Seaford, also known as Section 57, Block 151, lots 99, 100, 119, and 120 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. The property itself is, as you can see from the aerial, it's on the eastern side of the town of Hempstead. It is located on the southeast. Sorry about that. It's located on the southeast corner of Siemens Neck Road and Sunrise Highway in the area of Seaford. Just actually, just a little bit, almost off the exit ramp of the Seaford Bay Expressway. Just a brief history of the service station. It's been operating as a gasoline service station since in or about 1967 as a repair-oriented service station. There have been several different applications from then to now, namely dealing with new modifications to some of the underground storage tank facility. And in 1999, the premises was included in the town's GSS zoning district by Town Board Resolution 944-1999, and there were certain covenants and restrictions that were applied to it at that time, which were adopted by Town Board Resolution number 1096 in 1999. At that time, the premises was changed, and I could go over to the board just a little bit. It essentially operated as a gasoline service station, still continues to operate as a gasoline service station. But at that time, the improvements that were made as part of the GSS inclusion was that there was a reconfiguration of the pump islands. There are presently 4 pump islands on premises, which are located as such. And there is a canopy which extends over those pump islands. And those are the renovations that were made principally after it was included in the GSS zoning district. The underlying zoning district is the Business X zoning district, which is the appropriate zoning district to be, the underlying district to be included into the GSS. Subsequent to that, the only changes that were made were, say, in 2013, over here, the underground gasoline storage tanks were replaced in accordance with the Nassau County Fire Marshal requirements, in as much as previously there were single wall fiberglass underground gasoline storage tanks. The county changed their regulations in accordance with the state and federal regulations. So they had given service stations a certain time period within which to change their underground tanks. And what is in Nassau County, it's a 30-year goal. So they were replaced in accordance with that. So all the underground piping, tanks, and the like all meet with all those regulations. Everything else about the site remains the same. The curb cuts which are located on Sunrise Highway, as well as the curb cuts which are located on Siemens Neck Road. So why we are here before the board, Mr. Mahmood and TNT acquired the premises, I believe, roughly about 8 years ago. We've been operating this service station. It's currently operated as a Citgo service station. Currently has 3 service bays and a sort of an office area, which has like a little bit of a, part of the office area has like a little bit of a, essentially a little bit of a snack shop to begin with over there. I think it was kind of that way when he picked up the service station, and it's been operated like that. But so the nature of the application is basically to utilize that office area in one service bay for a convenience / snack shop, which would be for the sale of, at retail, of non-petroleum products, snacks, and the like. It would, on a day like today, hopefully, maybe sell a scarf, gloves, and hat, but also the other type of items that you would expect to find at a snack shop, a gasoline service station. Due to the limited size of it, we would not be anticipating using it for any food preparation or cooking or anything along those lines. But it would simply be, ancillary to the service station itself and utilized for prepackaged food sales, beverage sales, and the like. All other aspects of the service station itself would remain the same. The only difference maybe in the package that we have over there is obviously at where the one service bay is going to be closed and utilized as part of the snack shop. We would address that elevation so that this way it wouldn't look like a closed bay door, but we seek to match the brickwork from that. And Kevin, if you have an elevation board, you perhaps you can put on the board. We seek to match the brickwork that we have on the site. We then kind of went around the area to just see if there was any comments from anybody in the area. Submitting I think it's about 10 pages of signatures of people in the area that are in support of the application. I did notice, it was brought to my attention, that that there were some violations at the site itself. So when it was brought to my attention, I immediately communicated with the owner to find out the nature of what the situation was with respect to the violation. Most of them actually really involve or should be cured by the nature of the application. One of the things I did see with respect to there are a couple of open permits, and I think that's just something where I tell my clients this all the time. Never make the final client payment with the contractor until you get that certificate of occupancy. So they replace the tanks in accordance with the county requirements and in accordance with the town requirements. Kind of remove the old tanks, obviously, to put the new tanks in. And there's that removal permit is still open. For some reason, hasn't been signed off, so I'm looking into that, as well as the new permits, which have all the county sign-offs and requirements, but for whatever reason, the contractor did not have the final sign-off on behalf of the town. There were other issues with respect to some signage and debris, which I believe have all been taken care of. But I just did want to at least bring that to the board's attention, and that as soon as we were made aware of it, we're making every effort to address any of those situations. Other than that, physically on the property, there's really no other changes that are being made. The curb cuts are all existing to remain. They can safely accommodate tanker trucks that are utilized to clean this location. So the curb cuts remain the same. All other physical improvements on the site will remain the same, other than that one interior improvement to the bay as well as the elevation. So if there are any questions either of myself or of the owners, operators, or my design professional, I'd be happy to answer them. We would plan on selling, say, beer, as is common at the places of this nature. We would condition, though, which I think has been a policy, that after 12 p.m. that there would be, we would prohibit alcohol sales to somewhere between, let's say, 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning.
Do you covenant?
Yes, we condition that, covenant that.
But the convenience store will be open 24 hours a day.
That's correct.
Mr. O'Brien, how many employees do you plan on having on site?
With both locations, probably about 4.
Okay, and I see
And
that,
I'm sorry, if I say both, I mean with the repair of automobiles as well as with the convenience operator. That's what I mean by both, both operations, I guess.
okay. In front of the existing 2 bays that it says here are to remain, you have 3 parking spaces. 2 of them are customer courtesy spots. Does that mean customer parking for the convenience center? I'm confused as how you're going to get cars in and out of that bay if on your map you're showing parking spaces in front of the 2 bays and 1 spot for employee parking, but you have 4 employees. Where's everyone going to park?
Mr. Papazian, this is Kevin Papazian from FST Engineers. The engineers prepared plans. So, Mr. Papazian, would you like to address the council's question?
As you know, there's bays to the south side, the convenience stores to the north side of the plant. But the courtesy spots, as you know, is going to be a working shop as well. Those are the spots where the operator of the bay will move the cars around there, so we park for service. The convenience store will be the spots to the north. 4 spots to the north, 2 spots. That's where they will be parked. So the ones like Mr. O'Brien over there, the handicap spot is going to the north, that will be the convenience store. And then the spots to the bottom will be with the bays, so it's separate. For the most part, in regard to parking with the convenience store, it's always come to this like catch-22 with it, because in reality, most people park in a pump system where they're actually parking car in a parking spot. So with that said, with the size of the store being roughly 800 square feet, which is fairly small, we don't see anyone being there more than a minute or 2. So we don't think 4 spots, even though the requirement is more, is insufficient. Considering also the IT says 4 spots per 1,000, so we actually exceed the IT requirement for the convenience store piece of it. Regarding to the bay aspects of it, usually you want 2 cars for each bay, so one's in the bay and one's outside, which technically we need that too, regarding how the bay operation works.
How many cars do you expect to do, what are they average per day to repair in these bays right now?
Well, right now, there's 2 bays. There's 3 there now, but I think the reason they're switching to the convenience store, making it bigger, is that, as you know, cars don't really, people don't get their cars fixed at the shop anymore, they bring it back to the dealer, so that business is kind of dying out slowly. I do not operate the station, but let me talk to the operator, but my understanding, they usually only work on 2 to 4 cars at a time. So if there's 2 outside, 2 in. And then they can, like if you've been out there, there's not a lot of cars parked all over the place right now.
And then again, going back to my original question, where do the employees park?
Well, I think there's 1 employee spot, am I correct, Glenn?
Right.
Most employees will be dropped off there. There's not a big employee situation there regarding like it's only 4 employees total, but it won't be 4 employees at one time. I'm getting at is maybe if you 2 mechanics, I think 1 person operating the convenience store. So it's actually 3 employees. and it will be carpool.
Do you have any problem covenanting the dumpster pickup in the middle of the night?
No, and actually, I think I personally keep the mechanic bays in business because all my cars are from the last century. I think I'm the only one that's got a 1996, 98 Jeep, so I guess I'm the one who's patronizing it, but everybody else leases their cars and don't have to use them. But yes, Councilman, we would condition the garbage pickup to be done at reasonable times, after 6 a.m. or something along those
Right
lines.
along the residential.
Yes.
The way you have it situated, you're right along the residential area there.
Yes, yes.
A couple of other questions.
And it is private sanitation, so we can control that.
On your plant list, you have arborvitaes and you have as shown, but when I did some quick figuring on this, those arborvitaes along the residential area there look to be about 5 feet apart, which will take a long time for them to grow together to provide any type of sound barrier. So it would seem that maybe a 3-foot on center would be a little more realistic as far as providing some sort of sound barrier, and the having as shown on some of these doesn't give us any idea as to how many are being planted. In addition to that, I might suggest that you look at some of the best examples of planting that are trying to improve the look of some of these properties. The bowler markets that are in Levittown and Bethpage are great examples of varied planting. This is a gateway to Seaford. The Seaford Chamber of Commerce has a sign just to the west of this. You're entering Seaford from the Seaford Oyster Bay, and you've got some frontal areas along Sunrise Highway and Siemens Neck Road that could be a showplace. And it would be nice if you really overdid these areas to be a nice gateway into Seaford.
I couldn't agree more, being a former landscaper myself. My recommendation also would be that we mix up some of the varieties and not just use that varieties, but use Leland cypress and the like, so that this way, in the event, is what happens with landscaping. Occasionally, something gets some variety. Like you see the black pines, they got hit with something. The white pines,
perennial flowers, the spring, summer, and fall.
I would like to see, and the tricky thing is, I mean, personally, I think like a beach grass in around the apex in the corner, but the tricky part is just to make sure we keep it underneath 24 inches so that this way we don't impede visibility. But I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm sure our landscape architect over at FSD can create a plan that everybody be proud
My
of.
last suggestion might be where your pumps are, the ends of your pumps, that you put planters in with annuals. Again, to dress up the gas station.
I like it, and I will certainly do.
Especially the planters would also actually provide safety in some people.
I know, I'm going to take a look at that, and if need be, absolutely. I know, quite frankly, what has happened is with the snow, it's happened, a lot of fences are broken, so if, or they've gotten pushed off their bases. So if it needs to be replaced, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, and I will note that, and we'll replace the fence.
Is there a specific kind of fence you want? You want like a PVC or?
We'll look at that, we'll look at it, we'll see what, we'll see what.
Green color. No, PVC is good, the cream.
Now you know what's funny, it's taste, because I had this with my wife. I personally don't like a PVC fence, a lot of people do. I don't like
But
that.
if it's tough, makes it soft.
But, yeah. Well, we aim to please. Anything further?
Yes, Supervisor, I'd just like to say something for the record, Mr. O'Brien. I wouldn't hold it against your client. Your client's a local applicant. I just want to state for the record that I have problems with the Citgo Oil Company. They are a wholly owned subsidiary of Venezuela Oil. They're happy to take our money in Venezuela, but they constantly say derogatory comments about the United States, and they're anything but an ally to the United States. I won't hold it against your client, but I feel like I need to step up. Thank you.
And I understand that. I cannot disagree with that. And quite frankly, we're considering, because we buy our motor fuel, from various distributors, and we were considering, and we had discussed this earlier, quite frankly, so I'm glad you brought it up, possibly switching over to Exxon. What had happened, and I don't know if the board's aware, and I don't know if the board with all the details, but years ago, Exxon was a prevalent brand in the area. What happened was when they merged with Mobil and became ExxonMobil, it became an FTC issue where they had more market share. That's been relaxed, and now the Exxon brand has come back. We just started to see it like in the last 2 years. So that is a consideration.
No, and I understand, but I just have very strong feelings about that. I just want to make a comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you very much.
I don't have any statements. Does anybody wish to be heard on this application? If not, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the decision be reserved.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Maguski. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Thank you very much. And that radiator in the back is working really good.
On administrative calendar, we have items 1 through 26.
Does anybody wish to sever any of the items? Not, may I have a motion?
I move the administrative calendar in its entirety.
I second the motion. Mr. Patrick.
Yes, Kachi, 1165 Pond Street, Franklin Square, New York. Good morning. On the item, case number 7, the personnel issues, there's a salary increase for Secretary to the Town Board, Roseanne Tully, increased to $117,000, 108. According to CP New York, previous salary was $108,714. That's a 7.7% wage increase in 1 year. Who approves, or how is this number decided?
That's a personnel question, but bottom line is it's a merit increase.
Okay. So, no people, who's the people who decide this increase?
She works for the town board and is adopted by the town board.
Over the last 6 years, Roseanne Tully's salary has increased 36%. Taking into account the increase in benefits, Roseanne Tully's compensation has increased well over 50%. That's an above average wage increase, no matter how you look at it. What extraordinary achievements has Ms. Tully accomplished for residents of the town of Hempstead to justify a 36% wage increase in 6 years?
Mr. Patrick, we're not, oh, one minute.
Mr. Patachi, you asked your question, you got your answer. We're not going to discuss it any further. It's a merit increase.
Yeah, just also for
That's
the,
the answer.
okay, it's a merit increase that can't be justified in any which way to the public. The public has to pay for that unjustified increase.
No one said it can't be justified. We're just not going to discuss.
Well, yeah, I have a lot of secrets too. I won't justify why I won't pay my taxes, but that's not going to get me anywhere. You know, you just get away with just increasing salaries, above and beyond the norm, and then say you can't discuss it. That's, okay, and that's just ripping off the taxpayer. She has donated over $11,500 to the various candidates, mostly to Council Citizens for Santino and the East Rockaway Republican Club. Do you think that had anything to do with her wage increases?
Absolutely not, Mr. McCutcheon.
Okay, also, items number 7. Resolution to rescind authorization for on-call architectural engineering services, Department of General Services. What's the reasoning for rescinding these, the authorization?
I believe that there's a whole pool of architectural and engineering firms that potentially can be on call if there is an emergency scenario. However, I think these two particular groups, and Commissioner, yes, Mr. here? Oh, I see, okay. Mr. Conroy, Controller.
Essentially, what we're doing is moving the authorization from an architectural firm to an engineering firm based on the needs of the infrastructure of the town of Hempstead. The engineering firms are more astute to what our needs are. For example, we need some facade work on our old town hall. That's basically the rationale.
I don't believe these two groups were used at all in the last couple of years. So they're not really used.
So you're telling me that I didn't even ask if there was a connection. So there is a connection between items 7 and 8? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is a connection. Yes.
Okay, no, yeah, that was my next question. Okay, so you answered that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Somebody else wish to be heard on any of the administrative items?
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
I move to adjourn.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Councilman King Sweeney.
Okay, the formal portion of the meeting has concluded. Madam Madam.
Good morning. Several months ago, I had approached the board, actually on a few occasions, in regards to the behaviorist who left the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter as a result of the direction it was going in. And as a result of that, apparently the director put in charge an employee, one that I've seen behave very dominant to the animals. In any case, what I'm finding at the shelter is many dogs that came in and evaluated green, which means that most of the dog walkers and volunteers can walk and socialize with, have now been turned to the code yellow, which means the vast majority of volunteers cannot walk. And I'm going to put aside the fact that there is an over $3 million shelter salary budget. Those animals should be getting out 3 or 4 times a day by staff, but we'll put that aside, and thankfully there is a volunteer program. My concern is what I noticed, that at least 50% of those green dogs are now yellow. And I'm here to talk specifically about Lucy, who is now in Kennel 1 there's a kind of a rigged block on her cage, as they have in many of them now in Kennel 1. They have changed her from green to yellow, which means she can hardly get out of her cage to be walked. They commented that she is under-socialized. And this apparently is the solution to that, to change her color so she stays in her cage and eventually she'll be put down because she'll be spinning.
Did you actually ask any of the personnel there why there was a change in status?
Actually, Mike approached me in Kennel 3 the other day, and Mike the story, and I shared my concerns. He said, as he normally does, he's working on it. These dogs are waiting every day for help. I asked him why there's not a behaviorist in the animal shelter. He started talking about the test. But that doesn't prohibit him from interviewing, bringing in an acting behaviorist instead of promoting inside staff that have no qualifications to do this work. And the animals are paying the price for it. In addition to that, there's a dog Otto that I'm very concerned about that came in also adoptable. and was actually evaluated by someone, by the vet. That would be the equivalent of a behaviorist making a medical evaluation on a dog. So there are big problems at the animal shelter, and I don't know, other than to show you the proof of that and what I've been trying to say for months, that this behavior department is breaking apart. And these animals are now sitting there. There are some there for over a month that have not been walked by volunteers. There's also an employee there that I thought was doing a great job. She worked under Laura Barbara. Her name is Nora. And I've noticed that Nora, it seemingly she's been removed from this department. And she was doing a great job. She was trying to pick up on the buddy program that was established and the buddy page, but that also has fallen apart. And I'd like to know why that is, and I'd like to know what you're going to do about it. Because again,
It's your opinion on all of these things, and I understand that you're there or not, but all I see is the pictures of the dog. You're giving a sort of a storyline to it. I don't know how accurate what you're saying.
well, you don't have to believe me. You can come down to the animal shelter. And to say I've been there a lot, I'm there about once a week. And that's quite enough. You can really see what's going on there if you're there once a week. And it's not my opinion. You can go in and you can take a look at the green cards that within a few days or a few weeks, because of this person that's now evaluating, and there's a new system evaluating, they're now yellow. That's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Well, did you have a conversation with the shelter director about these specific concerns? Because we're sitting here, you're talking about some operational things, and we're not there every day, obviously. But of course, you have the shelter director and the employees under them. And I would think that would be the best place to have a conversation if you have concerns.
No, this is the best place when I have concerns, and I'm going to tell you a little story. Smithtown Animal Shelter is banging my door down for suggestions and help on how to reform that shelter and how to fix it. They want to bring in the experts. The shelter director didn't approach me because the shelter director really has no control. It's the town board, it's the town council, and they were smart enough to nominate a town council person and make her a liaison for the animal shelter. And I applaud them for that, and I applaud their town supervisor for doing that. So I've tried with Mike Pastore, but Mike Pastore actually blames you. Mike Pastore actually blames how the government works. So it is your job to resolve this. And I'd like to know why these employees that were doing such a good job are now at the front counter. That makes no sense to me. The program was effective. The program, each animal had a buddy, considered a buddy, which was a volunteer, and they were all getting out. Things have changed quite a bit with this behavior department, and you should be a lot more concerned about that than I am.
Thank you. Elizabeth Stein? Good morning.
Good morning. I am in receipt of the euthanasia policy for the animal shelter. Can you hear me now? And there were a few things that I would like to discuss with the board, and Mr. Ivey would be interested in this as well, because these are concerns I have both from a legal point of view and from a policy point of view. And basically, the sum and substance of it is that in going through the euthanasia policy, what stood out to me was the fact that it in nowhere states who is allowed to perform the euthanasia. It's implicit in it that only certain people could be in the room, but I would think that there would be a statement that a veterinarian, a licensed medical technician, would be the person who could do it, because the Agriculture and Markets Law, as well as the New York Public Health Law, is very specific as to who can perform euthanasia, and if it is performed by somebody other than such a designated person, it is a misdemeanor. So I think that that is something that absolutely should be addressed in the policy, as well as the drugs that can be used. Because again, this is something that is very specific in the law, and it's not in any way addressed in the
Well, maybe we should
euthanasia
tighten that up. It's interesting
policy.
how ag and markets, we pass every year, when they come, their surprise visits, their surprise inspections, and so we've done very, very well.
Yeah, and
with
I'm,
those and
right, and I'm not questioning that. This is really going
that's interesting
to
about
the
good suggestion.
policy and what should be in the policy so that things cannot fall through the cracks. And that's, in my opinion, why you have policies and procedures, so that everybody who is employed, who is a volunteer, whomever, will know exactly what they can and cannot do. A few of the other things where they have the reasons for why euthanasia would be permissible. One of them is for behavioral reasons. What it doesn't say is who would make the behavioral evaluation for euthanasia. This is of particular concern now since, from what I gather, there is no behaviorist who is currently employed by the shelter or volunteering his or her services. So I would have to question who in fact is making a behavioral evaluation of an animal that is who is being euthanized. Then you have an owner request for euthanasia. In nowhere does it say in the policy that somebody who is turning in their animal for euthanasia has to provide some sort of proof of ownership of that animal. And my experience as an attorney only dealing with animal welfare issues, this is of great concern because it happens on a fairly routine basis that somebody brings in an animal for euthanasia who is not the rightful owner of that animal. And I think that should be in your policies as well.
Yeah, I've never heard that happening at our shelter, but that's certainly.
It happens all of the time. It also, I have to question, when somebody brings in an animal for euthanasia, there are the circumstances where the animal is very old, very infirm. There are true reasons for euthanasia. There are also people who bring in their animals for euthanasia because, and this is true, because the animal no longer matches the furniture, or because the animal needs to be walked too frequently. It happens, these are calls that I get on a very routine basis. I think it needs to be addressed in the euthanasia policy that an animal who is being turned in, who is being surrendered to euthanasia, the shelter should not be able to perform euthanasia for any reason other than age, severe disability. So I think that's another thing that, since you have a policy and procedure. The last thing, and I think most importantly, is that there is a statement that the shelter can euthanize for space, which is, to read it, is the stark reality of what is happening, or must be happening, because it is in your policies and procedures. And I think that, at a minimum, what this needs to say is that euthanization for space is a last resort, truly a matter of last resort. And before that could ever happen, there should be a list of protocols that must take place, that rescue groups have been outreached, foster care has been outreached, that a boarding facility has been contacted, that could be paid for through the Tales of Hope Fund.
I think the reality is it probably happens in practice, but the policy might not be.
But it should be,
Yeah, I understand.
if you have a policy,
Yeah.
let's make sure that it covers situations that are out there,
Suggestions.
and that where the potential truly exists for an animal to be euthanized for space when it doesn't, when the animal really should not be. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the suggestion. It's precaution. Good morning, again.
Vigilant LLC has received, last December, the town board approved another year contract going to be getting about $5,800 a month. How does the town verify that Christopher Shelton, the sole proprietor of Vigilant, is providing the services specified on his invoices to the town controller?
There are you filed claim forms detailing the work he performs.
Yes. According to the invoices provided by Vigilant, the only council person Mr. Shelton meets with is Councilman Santino. The question is, does Mr. Shelton meet with any other council members? And if so, why aren't their names provided on any of the invoices?
I don't know if he meets with any of the council members, but I know he meets with the town attorney's staff, and he meets with other commissioners on duties that he's performing.
According to Mr. Shelton's contract with the town, he makes his own hours. After 2008, there are no more invoices in the town controller's office. There's simply, I guess, proof of claims and claim forms, which simply state that he does legislative services for the majority. Why is it specified the majority? I believe he was doing fire districts. What does the majority have to do with fire districts? I have copies of it over here.
Maybe that's a poor choice of words on his part, but he deals with fire matters, he deals with fire districts, he deals with fire departments, he deals with the special fire protection districts. That's in fact what he does.
Well, it's numerous, it's not just one. I made copies of all the invoices I could get going back to 2007. Like I said, after 2008, 2009, he stopped doing detailed invoicing, where he invoiced for actually 2.5 hours for marching in a parade or going to some ceremony. I'm not sure why we're paying $100 an hour for someone to attend a ceremony, how that's benefiting the taxpayer. But I brought that up last time and I didn't get any satisfactory answer. But the question is, he's not detailing his hours. He's getting a fixed fee, and there is, at least I went through every piece of paper that was in the comptroller's office, asked for the contract also, and there's no way he could be sitting at home and he's still going to get paid. There's no verification. And even when he does specify something in his invoices, for example, teleconference with fire department official regarding redacted, teleconference with fire district official relative to redacted. One invoice redacted, I think, is 20 times on, for 5 or 6 items. Redacted, that's what he meets with, that's what he does. Everything's redacted. He doesn't even specify which fire department official he meets with, which fire department it is, East Rockaway, Franklin Square, where we don't know, which fire district official, we don't know. It just goes back to accountability. There is no way for a resident who's interested in making government efficient and accountable to the people when you give and the comptroller signs off on invoices that are this day. It's the same thing when I spoke about Roseanne Tully. The reason why I pushed that issue was because, once again, the taxpayers are footing the bill for something they don't have no idea, and even when they make a trip to town hall and make a major effort, as I have over the last 4 years, and I'm pushing my 100th meeting of attending here, and you still try to hide stuff from the public. And all you people who preach transparency and good government, you have to let the people know, because if you're so good, you wouldn't be scared to let people know why you're doing what you're doing.
We're not scared.
Yeah, well, you are
You
scared.
have all the documentation.
Well, the thing is, the documents are vague. When it says 20 times on one piece, on one invoice redacted, I have no concept of what he's doing. And now, if I ask the question, what is he doing, like I asked Mr. Santino at the last meeting, it was just vagary. And there's still, I can't justify somebody making $100 an hour based on what I've heard. Marching in a parade for 2.5 hours and getting paid, at that time, I think it came out to 75 because he was making a lower fee, about $75, $80 an hour to march in a parade. I mean, if the public knew that you're paying people to march and parade, do you think they would approve that? I mean, that's the question that needs to be out there to the public. If the majority of the people said, fine, let's pay people $80 an hour to march and parade, then I would have no issue. But I don't think people really know how their money is being spent. They just see their taxes going up every year. They see when it's reported by very few people, the payrolls that are printed in Newsday, you see year after year, these people who are already making six figures, you can't justify their jobs, and they're getting wage increases on top of wage increases with full benefits. And the thing is, and then you still sit here and just look at me as if like, nobody here takes initiative and says, no, this is wrong. Because if one of you stood up and said that this is not, no, but the thing is, I can't make it enough to you. Like I said, going to every meeting for 5 years is not enough, because still everybody here just rubber stamps every vote. And that's really what the problem is with government. I mean, we need a moral commission for the town of Hempstead. We need to look into this, and things that are legal, that you're probably doing that are illegal, they shouldn't be legal. It should not be legal for you to pay people for marching parades. Now, one more thing I want to bring up. I received this in the mail this week. It's, I think, my third mailing this year. You stated that the best way to notify people is to put them in the public library. That's why you said certain things. So why do you send to my house if the best way to inform the public is to put it in public libraries?
I think that context was about civil service employees.
But that's the best way to notify a town of 766,000 people is to put the flyers in the library. But meanwhile, you spend $35,000 a minimum per mailing to ensure that we all get this. That's not fair to the public. People spoke for 18 minutes at the last meeting, and Bell Lady didn't go crazy. That's just for the record, and I got it on video.
And we're on record, I think you're at almost 7 minutes.
Boo-hoo.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms. Lucille DeFito, please.
She seems to run out the door every time I get on the microphone. I just want to talk a little more about the policies and procedures for euthanasia. And I guess if Ms. Murray will not listen to me, then we're going to have to make some more of a public statement so that things change. But one of the most appalling things about your policies and procedures for euthanasia is that your director doesn't need to oversee it or to sign off on it. The three of us have been called in to look at many policies and procedures and have gone over what most shelters all over, especially on Long Island, are doing. And never does a director of an animal shelter not have the final say on who is killed in their shelter. The fact that Mike Pistori has nothing to do with this, other than maybe a conversation, he won't put his signature or have any accountability for any euthanasias at his shelter, tells us something is very, very wrong here. This was never the case before. Cindy and Stacy, over every euthanasia, their signature went down on it. They were authorized to make sure that euthanasia was the only thing left. Here, nobody is doing that. And when Liz spoke about the behaviors, who's deciding aggression, well, Dr. Siegel, who is also deciding euthanasia, is also changing the codes from yellow to red, and making these dogs considered unadoptable, and also authorizing euthanasia. Why is Dr. Siegel authorizing euthanasias across the board and to clerical people? That's it? There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong across the board with all your policies and procedures, but we're going to start with the euthanasia policy. That's the most important thing. And everyone needs to know that the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter has a director who is not overseeing euthanasias. That tells the story right there. Just like changing government documents. When we asked him in the meeting with Cheryl Petrie, he says he has nothing to do with Pet Point. He has nothing to do with administrative. Now he has nothing to do with euthanasias. Thank you.
There is no one else who has signed in. Is there anyone else who would like to address the town board? Not have a nice day, ladies and gentlemen.
Candy?